Hello and welcome to Instant Transmission, a podcast where we discuss everything Dragon Ball and the differences between a tier list and this episode, and how many times I can make that joke. Everybody needs a leg up somewhere in life, and tonight we're discussing those moments with a list of our favorite master-student moments. Bow your head in respect and listen up, because we're about to dive into another list of our favorite things. I'm your host, Dayton, and once again, I'm joined by my co-host, Todd.
Hi.
Tonight, Todd and I have decided on a variety of different master-student moments throughout the Dragon Ball franchise. This list is very subjective and is not a definitive tier list. This is just a collection of scenes where the different masters within the Dragon Ball universe impart their knowledge or exceptionally show a unique connection between a master and a student. So with all that covered, was there anything you wanted to add before we got things started, Todd?
No, I don't think so. I actually was just kind of reordering things a little bit here. Yeah, why don't we go ahead and jump in? Do we want to start with perhaps the teacher of all teachers in Dragon Ball in our Turtle Hermit?
Yeah, I think that's a great spot to start. When you think of a teacher in Dragon Ball, it's got to be Roshi that comes to mind immediately, right? Like he's kind of the GOAT.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think he's the first real mentor that we have in all of Dragon Ball. We get to see him basically like showing off the Kamehameha, Goku learning that. But we kind of tried to pare down, at least for this list, one of the most impactful moments to us with Master Roshi. And there's a lot, but I think the one that we decided on is the moment where Roshi enters into, I think it's the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai. It's when he enters into the fight against Tien. And as Jackie Chun, but Tien knows it's Master Roshi. And they fight for a while. It's a great fight, very closely matched. And then Master Roshi steps out of the ring, forfeiting the fight, allowing Tien to go on to fight Master Roshi's student in Goku.
And this is, it's such a masterful decision, right? Because Master Roshi understood what the purpose of this battle was. And it wasn't to exchange fists. It was actually a battle for Tien's heart. And so during their battle, this is probably one of the only fights where the dialogue is actually on par with the actual choreography. Like the fight looks great and the dialogue is fantastic. I love both parts of this. There's a moment where Roshi tells Tien that you've allowed yourself to be led down a short and destructive path. You bow to a false master. And this just cuts deep into Tien, further kind of throwing him off his own beliefs and making him question himself even further. And when it leads up to that point where he steps out of the ring, it denies Tien that ability to physically fight his problems. Now he's left with his own thoughts and how to work through it. And it's such a smart move. It's such a meaningful move. And it's something that I feel like only Roshi would be able, or somebody on the same level as Roshi would come to that type of conclusion and be able to have that type of impact.
Yes, 100%. Tien's a young man who views strength and violence as basically, like you said, the way to solve his problems, and views it as like the one thing that's important, that's valuable. And when Master Roshi, who is somebody who is, he can inflict violence onto somebody expertly. He could certainly solve all of his problems with violence if he chose to do so. When he decides not to inflict violence onto Tien any further, I think it just rocks Tien's world. I think Tien, too, he's fighting in this tournament to prove something, probably mostly to himself, maybe to his teacher as well in the Crane School. But the fact that Tien ends up, spoilers, Tien ends up winning the tournament. I don't think that Tien is satisfied with that win for multiple reasons, the way that the fight went with Goku, but also he didn't actually beat Master Roshi. And I think that this whole, mostly what Roshi does, and then also seeing how Goku treats Tien as an opponent, these end up leading to Tien changing as a character completely.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many great big fights and big moments in Dragon Ball, and a lot of them are usually the good guy beating the bad guy. That doesn't happen here. This kind of turns that on his head where the bad guy wins. Well, theoretically, the bad guy wins because Tien's the bad guy in this arc, or at least as far as we know up till this point. So it takes what should be um I guess a typical ending and flips it on its head and gives us a different result. The whole thing is great. It's interesting, and Roshi plays such a beautiful part inside Tien's story arc here.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it also shows a contrast between Master Roshi as a mentor versus um I'm totally drawing a blank on his name. The master of the Crane School, who is like yelling at his students, telling them. I think he ends up getting into a fight at some point during the tournament, and it's it shows Tien what a master really could be instead of a master who just treats you like a like part of their legacy. Like the Crane School teacher is he's kind of a slime ball. And Tien starts to see that once he sees the comparison to Master Roshi.
And it's not like this is happening in a vacuum, right? I believe it's Master Shen is the
Shen.
master of the Crane School. And this whole time, Master Shen's almost like using some sort of telepathic ability to speak into Tien's head. So there's actually a struggle between two masters over what you could argue is Tien's soul or his, his conscious, however you want to describe it. So Tien's being pulled in two different directions by two different masters.
Yeah, yeah. I The whole plot for this is just fantastic. But I know Master Roshi can sometimes get a bad rap for being a perv, but when he's actually being a mentor to the next generation of martial artists, he does it really well. I really like the wisdom that he imparts onto the younger martial artists here. And it's funny because he's going out of his way to help a student who's not even in his school. Like Tien is not Master Roshi's student. Um, in fact, Tien goes on to fight and beat Goku, who is Master Roshi's student. And Master Roshi is having to take all of that into consideration, like what's best for my student in Goku, and also what can I do to help this young man in Tien who is clearly misguided and very clearly needs help moving in a different direction. That's crazy to me that Master Roshi was basically able to do what was best for both Goku and Tien in this tournament.
Yeah, and I know we've gushed about Tien's story arc in the 22nd martial art tournament many times, but it's hard to emphasize how good it is. It's such a nicely contained little piece of story inside of a bigger story. Like it has impact, like so much impact outside of just itself, right? Like it continues Goku's motivation to get stronger. We get to see Roshi's kind of moved out of the way at this point. This is Roshi stepping out of Goku's way and letting him kind of go off on his own, right? Like it's kind of his big moment. It's not going to be Roshi being the gatekeeper anymore. And so it's a big growth moment for Goku as well. And it's not even really about Goku, but it still affects Goku. That's how well this is written.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I There's even like we as the audience can even question because I don't think we get a clear definitive answer. Like, did Master Roshi intend for Tien to beat Goku? Because the original, like in the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai, Master Roshi was trying to stop Goku from thinking he was the top of the mountain in martial artists. And in this one, I mean, Goku could have won the tournament. He narrowly avoided winning because he got hit by a car. um,
Yeah, the story takes a radically different direction if Goku does win it, right? Like I don't think none of this hits the same if Goku wins it. Like it's so poetic that Tien is the winner of all of this. And on top of that, like he almost like redeems himself with this win, um, of mind and body.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's very important that Tien wins this fight because partly for Goku's growth, but particularly for Tien because the victory still it felt hollow for him, I think. I think that he learned that strength and violence are not the most important or at least there's more to life, more to martial arts than just being able to beat your opponent physically.
Yeah, and like we see that because at the beginning, he's willing to play dirty and win by any means, and like the tournament is almost just like it's like a just him playing around sort of thing. It doesn't. He already understands that he's the strongest person there, right? Like he's just there to get an ego boost, basically. But by the end of it, he wants to fight correctly. He even yells at Chaozu to stop messing with Goku during their fight because he wants that honorable victory. Because, like you said, he understands that if he doesn't win it the right way, it doesn't mean anything. And honestly, if he doesn't win the tournament, um, I could see him kind of possibly regressing, being like, all right, like I tried to do it the right way and I lost. So, I'm going to go back to my old master. Like he could really backslide. I don't think it's as poetic if he takes the right path and then loses the tournament. I feel like it's necessary for him to win because it's not like Goku who's just trying to get it for, he's trying to get that dub. He's trying to get that victory. For Tien, like so much character development. I mean, it's kind of justifying his transformation, and that's why I think it's perfect that he won. It's perfect that Roshi stepped out of the ring to let him deal with the actual struggle, the actual battle, which was the one happening in his own mind. And then once he was able to clear that and overcome basically himself, it set him up to actually win the tournament. Like it just feels right.
Yeah. Yeah, I very much agree. I don't think I have a lot more to say about this one. I think that Roshi has a lot of really great moments, and we'll probably cover a few more of those in the honorable mentions. But this was the one that for both Dayton and I mean, we've talked about this moment in multiple past episodes of the podcast, so it's clear that this one sticks out in our head as being one of Roshi's most impactful mentor moments.
Yeah, and I think the next master on our list, he's got a couple moments that I think we boiled it down to. I don't think we were really able to eke one out above the other, so we'll talk about them both. This is going to be Goku's moment in the limelight right now because it's always fun to watch the student become the master, right? We actually don't see a ton of that actually happen in Dragon Ball, and it's great to watch our main protagonist actually get in there and actually be on the other side of the master student dynamic. And the first moment I think we're going to talk about is Goku teaching Gohan inside the hyperbolic time chamber. And I personally am a huge fan of this moment because it's one of the only times we see Goku be a master and actually a father at the same time. We get to see that kind of dual dynamic coming into play here.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about this one when we were coming up with our list where when I think about Goku and Gohan in the hyperbolic time chamber, I don't feel like there's not a lot of meat there. There's not a lot of substance. I think Dayton did a good job of paring down and finding the specific instance that feels the most impactful, which is specifically when Goku, as a Super Saiyan, fires off a Kamehameha at Gohan, who at this point has not turned Super Saiyan. And Gohan basically has to fend off the Kamehameha. And in doing so, he turns Super Saiyan, or at least we see a flash of it. And he's able to deflect the Kamehameha. But I think the aftermath in particular was kind of what you liked about this, right, Dayton?
Yeah, we see him kind of in that like initial Super Saiyan transformation where the energy is almost like taking control of him. It's like he's struggling to control it. And when he makes that transformation, he has to tap into basically all of his past trauma and kind of work through that or get over that or use it as the kindling to ignite that Super Saiyan flame, right? And he struggles with it. It's almost like this power is going to overwhelm him as he, you know, balls his fist and kind of grunts in resistance to the power that's just swirling around him. We see Goku have to actually kind of coach him through, like, hey, like you need to calm down. You need to take control of it. Don't let it control you. And after a little bit of struggling, we see Gohan kind of snap out of it and fall to his knees. And Goku's response to this is like, "Hey, you did great. Why don't we get you a haircut and get you fed up because I'm going to lose you under there or something like that." He makes a joke about his hair. And we see him kind of bouncing back and forth between father and master here. And I really like this little scene because it's not only does it give us the same kind of motivating factors that kind of got Goku over the hump into the transformation, that that emotional fire that you need, but also we see Goku kind of loses it a little bit too when he has that initial Super Saiyan transformation, right? It's almost like he's almost like overwhelmed with either grief or rage. And we see Gohan struggling with that same thing too. And because Goku's been through it, he knows how to deal with it the best.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I mean the fan base, especially anybody who's watched the Team 4-star rendition of Dragon Ball, there's a lot of jokes about Goku is a bad dad. He's absent. He doesn't do anything like valuable as a parent for Gohan, and I mean later Goten. But this is a moment that I think is very it proves those people wrong, or at least for this brief moment anyway. This is Goku actively caring about his son, and there's maybe some argument to be like, well, Goku was physically putting Gohan in danger, but Goku knows that if he doesn't push Gohan, they're not going to be able to beat Cell. So Goku's riding a very fine line here of being a mentor, trying to push Gohan to the right degree that he needs to be pushed in order to become a Super Saiyan and gain the power he needs to beat Cell. But he's also being compassionate. He's also showing Gohan that it's okay to be kind and caring, and that Gohan has his father's support in, trying to do this, just trying to become stronger. Because, Goku hasn't told Gohan yet that he's plan A for beating Cell.
Well, and you kind of touched on it a little bit. Because we don't get a lot of Goku being a father scenes, or Goku even being a mentor scenes, really not as many as I would like. This scene sticks out in particular because it gives us that side that we don't ever see. And so I felt very strongly that we needed to at least touch on this one, because I think it's less about this moment compared to every other moment. I think there are better moments than this in general, but this is an important moment to me anyway, and one that I think we need to talk about because it covers something that is sorely missing in Dragon Ball, and I'm glad we at least get a little bit of this.
I very much agree. I think out of all of our mentors, most of them they're just teachers, right? They're just mentors. This is one of the few that is a family member, specifically a father, teaching their son. I think
It makes
actually
Goku feel human too, right? Like, because sometimes Goku just feels like a fighting machine. He doesn't actually feel like a real person, and this kind of gives him some personality here, some compassion.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm glad that you picked this one out specifically, because this is a good moment for that in particular. I think actually I want to kind of transition over to the next moment with Goku too, because it's similar but different. Because it's going to be in the Buu arc where Goku is teaching or training Goten and Trunks. It's like the initial start of the training with them, but it's specifically when Goten and Trunks both find out that they've lost someone in their family. For Trunks, Vegeta has just sacrificed himself and died to fight Buu, and they believe that Gohan has been killed fighting Buu. So both of the children, like I think they're 7 and 8 years old, are crying. They are upset that they've lost important people in their lives, like these, for Trunks, his father, for Goten, kind of a father mentor figure because Goku has been dead for the past 7 years. Um,
Basically his whole life, right?
yeah, yeah, basically Goten's whole life. And that's also the important part here is that Goku is present for this day, and he puts himself in the situation with these two boys grieving the loss of their family, and Goku yells at them. Goku is very stern with them and is basically like, hey, you can't cry. This is not the time for that. We have a very limited time and you need to train. You two are the only people who can stop Majin Buu now that Vegeta and Gohan are gone, and I'm going to be gone within an hour. Uh, it's it's harsh, but it feels like Goku is doing what he believes needs to be done in this moment. And I really like this. It's kind of contrary to his character in a way too, but it shows growth for him, which I like a lot.
I'll also have to give Shummel some credit here because it's a very fine line you need to walk here where it's it's compassion, but also it's like this seriousness that you need to kind of thread between, right? Where it's like, hey, like I understand that you're going through this, but we don't have time for this right now. You have more important things. And how do you say that to a young kid who's grieving their family member, right? Like that's a hard thing to do, and you have to do it. And just the way Shemo delivers the line, the seriousness of Goku, and we've talked about this before too. This is one of Goku's best, I guess, arcs here because we get to see him in that master role, kind of pushing characters in different directions, kind of game planning and coming up with the strategy for everybody. And this is an extension of that, right? Like, not only is he coming up with the game plan, he's also going to teach them how to perform that plan. And this is like the initial stages of it and getting everything together so that way, hopefully, and we, obviously it doesn't happen, but these two can defeat the big bad guy. And I mean, it's great. I I wish they would have continued with this Goku rather than making him just the main character again, because watching Goku actually become the master is so cool. And we don't get enough moments like this.
1000%. Yeah, I'm really sad that they don't continue with mentor Goku into Super really that I can think of. Um I like the way that he tries to teach people. Like, I mean, he teaches Gohan kind of like you said, Dayton, where he's a little harsh, but there's compassion there. And even in this moment where he's being, in my opinion, he's being very harsh, but there is still compassion there. Uh he just knows that he's doing what needs to be done. Um it's great character development for Goku, and it's also he's just such a unique mentor. And both of these instances are with his sons. I mean, add Trunks in there too, but both instances are him having to be like hard because he knows the situation requires it. Like the fate of the world is at stake, but he still finds a way to be caring in his own way. And it's, man, it's good. I like it a lot.
And I'd like to point out here too that Gohan and Goten and Trunks, like the way that they're pushed into their training regimen is way different than say like Goku was when he was a kid, right? Like Goku kind of was coerced to go out into the world and he wanted to get stronger and he kind of got to train on his own terms. These boys are being forced into this situation, right? Like they probably don't actually want to be here. This is not weight that they want on their shoulders. It's kind of thrust upon them. And so with Roshi, he had the motivation of the boys to want to do this training, whereas Goku has to not only train them, but he also has to keep them motivated. And that's a tough thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That Goku basically made that choice. He was enthusiastic and excited about learning and getting stronger, whereas the boys Gohan, Goten, Trunks, they naturally have this talent and this power, so they almost have this obligation to help and save people effectively. Um, and Goku basically just has to help them channel and harness that. But yeah, I really like Goku as a mentor. It's some of my favorite Goku that we ever get to see. It's too bad we don't get to see more of it. But I don't have a whole lot more to say about him as a mentor. You got anything else, Dayton?
Well, I got a feeling you got a lot to say about our next mentor coming up here.
I may be a little bit of a Vegeta fanboy, as people probably know at this point.
Yeah, Vegeta obviously makes it onto the list. And there's I think the one of the coolest like impromptu moments in all of Dragon Ball where Vegeta becomes the fighting coach, master, teacher. I don't know what you want to call it, but when they're on Namek and it's Vegeta, uh, Krillin, and Gohan, their backs up against the wall against the Ginyu Force, and Vegeta clicks into tactician mode and starts coaching the team on how to deal with these big brutes. It is one of the coolest moments in Dragon Ball, and just the way this entire thing is handled, I think is perfect. There's nothing I would change about anything that happens here.
Yeah, you kind of brought this one up when we were talking about the list, and I didn't even really think about this as like a mentor moment, but I like it a lot as a mentor moment, especially because it kind of shows Vegeta's progression as a mentor. Because he doesn't even really like or care about Gohan and Krillin. In fact, he probably wants to murder Gohan solely because he's Goku's son. But they are in, once again, a life or death struggle, and Vegeta, he basically views Gohan and Krillin as assets. Like they are tools to be used, and if they do not perform expertly and to his level of expectation, they're all gonna die. And so he takes that moment to be a mentor, to be a coach is maybe even a better way to put it, because he's literally like he slaps Gohan to the ground at one point to knock him out of the way of an attack, and then he's yelling at them, basically like telling them about the different techniques the Ginyu Force have and that they need to be more cutthroat and stuff like that. It's so very Vegeta. He's just like he's a survivor above anything else, and he's not kind, he's not compassionate, but he needs his tools alive.
Yeah, and I mean this is one of the few moments in Dragon Ball, because there are a couple where the mentor is not actually friends or cares about the mentee. Like it's hilarious. But I mean it works so well because the dynamics of the situation make this absolutely make sense. And we've talked about this before. Vegeta is an expert fighter, right? Like not only is he an expert at whatever martial art Saiyans use. I don't even know if there's a name for it. I've never actually even thought about it until now. But like he's been in elite squads to take over planets. He's worked on behalf of Frieza. He's somebody who is an expert in warfare. And so right now we are in that scenario where his lifelong expertise is perfect for this situation, and we see that on display. It's so in line with his character that it's so good it hurts, and it's hard for me to describe how good the situation, because there's no other character who would be more fitting in the situation than Vegeta. No one else.
Especially because we like just through the Namek arc, we watch him be an expert like battle technician. I mean, he's kind of underhanded, he's conniving, he's an opportunist, he's like stealthy when he needs to be. And he just kind of he uses all that knowledge and tries to impart it onto Krillin and Gohan, who are basically just they're very straightforward fighters for the most part, right? Like Krillin is, he can be stealthy when he wants to be, but when it comes to a fight, they're pretty just, beat up the other guy. And Vegeta's like, that's not gonna cut it, man. You guys got to be underhanded. You got to be cutthroat. Like, it's very, and he has a lot of good points too, right? Like we're listening to the bad guy, and we're like, you kind of want to root for Gohan and Krillin, and like they're morally much better than Vegeta, but Vegeta's the one who's keeping them alive, and Vegeta's points that he makes about fighting the Ginyu Force, who are themselves very cutthroat killers, and having to kind of be on that same playing field with them, he makes a lot of good points.
I mean, anybody at the same power level with Vegeta without his tactics or experience, they don't last that long. Like, I think they get beaten immediately. He is the only person with enough experience in tactical warfare to lead a couple of. I mean, Gohan and Krillin, like you said, they fight in like martial arts tournaments, right? Like they're expecting kind of a fair match. Warfare is different. This is life or death. These people are going to do anything to win, and they will kill you at a moment's notice. I mean, Golo's ability to freeze time, he was gonna like freeze them in place and then lug a freaking tree through them, right? That's not exactly a martial arts tournament move. And without Vegeta like thinking quick and moving quick, our two little heroes are dead instantly.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Uh, yeah, he Vegeta helps them out multiple times, which is it's just so interesting to see his progression. I don't have a whole lot more to say about that, but we do kind of move to, I think, a later mentor point with Vegeta in him teaching Kaba in the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament. And then specifically, I think the one that we were going to talk about is even in the Tournament of Power, because Vegeta starts, he takes the fight against Kaba in the Universe 6 and 7 tournament as a moment to teach Kaba how to turn Super Saiyan. He basically tells Kaba, like, hey, have pride as a Saiyan, you little punk. And he later in the Tournament of Power saves Kaba from getting knocked out of the ring and basically tells him Vegeta didn't want Kaba to get knocked out and basically make the Saiyan race look bad. He once more was basically saying, like, hey, you need to have pride as a Saiyan. You need to show it and demonstrate it. And there's even a moment where Vegeta basically says, like, hey, I'm going to win this fucking tournament. And even though all the other universes are going to get wiped out, I'm going to use the wish that I get from winning this tournament to bring your universe back. Like, it's Vegeta's way of showing that he cares about Kaba, which is, I mean, we very rarely see Vegeta express that he cares about someone or anything other than himself and the Saiyan race.
Yeah, and I mean, Vegeta physically is he's bullying Kappa, right? Like he's throwing punches, he's throwing knees, like he's being very violent towards Kappa, even though he's obviously pulling these punches and knees a little bit. But it's also done in a way to kind of get through his points. There's even a moment where Kappa like apologizes to Vegeta and says like, all right, like I promised that I would be as strong as you. And that pisses off Vegeta because he's like, no, like why are you aiming that low? You should aim higher than that. Kind of reaffirming the expectations he has for Kappa. And this moves him, right? Where he's just like, wow, you actually believe in me sort of thing. But he says it in a way where it's not quite on the nose. It's very Vegeta.
It's very Vegeta is the perfect way to put it, because it's Vegeta himself is constantly talking about, I'm going to surpass Kakarot. So it's just very funny for Kava to be like, I'm going to be as strong as you, Vegeta. And Vegeta's like, no, be stronger.
Yeah, and I mean, we see something similar to this happen with Future Trunks, right? Where he keeps aiming to be at where the present timeline Saiyans are, right? And so he keeps ending up like when we run into him again, he's like, "Oh yeah, I got Super Saiyan 2." And they're like, "What is this?" Like if you don't aim to surpass people, you'll just fall behind. Doesn't matter what timeline you're in.
Yes. Yeah, very much. Which I don't know, it's a funny thing, right? Like Vegeta is always working to pass Goku, and it does push him. He does get stronger. But at the same time, there could be something to be said about like the comparing mindset, right? Like I don't know. I mean, I guess it does give you a goal to push yourself to push past, but also you're constantly comparing yourself to somebody else, which is maybe not the best thing. But it's funny because it's very Vegeta, and that's the knowledge that he has to impart onto a student, and he does so with Kappa. So I like that a lot.
It's a lot of fun. And I mean, every part at every point in the show, there's always a measuring stick that someone's trying to measure themselves up to, right? And so I think that's a just a core golden rule of Dragon Ball is you need to have a goal that you're chasing, something that you're aspiring to be. And all these characters seem to end up somewhere around greatness by aiming for it. And I think that's an important lesson that he's trying to teach. So I like it a lot.
Yeah, yeah, same. I also like I think my last note is I just like the progression of like we talked about Vegeta basically being like a battle tactician coach for Krillin and Gohan, and then he does not care about them beyond the fact that they are helping him survive, but he very clearly shows that he cares about Kaba, even going so far as to be like, hey, the wish that I get from winning this tournament, I'm gonna bring your universe back because he doesn't say this specifically or explicitly, but it's because he cares about Kaba. So I like that progression for his character and for him as a mentor.
It's fun. And I mean, just like seeing Goku as the mentor, we like seeing Vegeta as the mentor too. Like these are characters that have been in the series front runners for a long time. It's only natural that eventually they'll be on the other side of that dynamic.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think that kind of shifts us to the next mentor we have on our list, which, just as a note, I shifted around the order a little bit because I think the last one we talk about is probably, I think it's maybe one of the most impactful ones. Um, but first, we're going to talk about our boy Gohan.
This is, man, Gohan is actually one of my favorite mentors in Dragon Ball because there's two different forms. We're going to talk about them both. We have the future Trunks timeline Gohan, and then we have the current timeline Gohan, right? So we get to see two different Gohans as a mentor, and both of them are fantastic. In the current timeline, I love his relationship with Goten and Videl. And this is one of the only moments where we see him describe controlling ki and how flying works and taking all this mysticism within the Dragon Ball universe and kind of explaining it, making it feel a little bit more mundane. And when you're able to do that, you look competent, right? Like he looks like he's actually a master of martial arts because even though he's not the strongest character, he's one of the strongest characters in the world. He's an absolute master of probably several different martial arts forms. He's incredibly powerful. And sometimes I feel like that context is lost. And this is a great way of putting something like that back into perspective. I absolutely love this scene.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We were talking about this a little bit before recording, but Gohan he's just kind of thrust into this role as mentor. Like it's not necessarily something that he wanted to do, but Gohan's like he's a kind and gentle soul, truly. He's a very caring person, and that is his approach to being a mentor. Like he's teaching Goten. Uh, he doesn't like he's not harsh like some of our other mentors that we've talked about are harsh. They like beat up and push their students to their limit. Gohan never really does that. He's one of the few mentors that we actually see like break down key control and actually have to like it just comes naturally to him at this point. So he has to like almost reverse engineer like, oh yeah, how do I do that? And then have to put that into words for both Goten and Videl. Um and he's the whole time it's basically just him like gently encouraging people, pushing them how to do it. He's giving like Goten when Goten's learning how to fly, Gohan's giving him like all these positive words of affirmation. Same with Videl when she finally learns how to like harness ki and everything. So he's maybe one of the first and only mentors who's like I would almost say fully a positive reinforcement kind of mentor.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, he's one of the people that I think fit into that mentor role so naturally, right? Like it just seems like He knows the right things to say. He knows how to explain stuff clearly. He's patient, which even then during this, he's supposed to be, I believe, training uh Goten and preparing for what is he preparing for? Like they're busy with something, but Videl kind of jumps in and gets in the middle of it, and he is kind of forced to train her, but he still does a good job with it.
I think that they were
Prepping for the tournament that all the big fighters are going to be at. Yep. Okay, I remembered.
yeah, yep. And yeah, Videl basically like she finds out about the whole secret Z fighter society and she's like, "Hey, you people can fly and shoot lasers out of your hands. I want in. Like show me how to do that stuff." And he's Gohan's pretty intimidated by it at first, but he takes to it. I mean, he takes to it very naturally. He's a fantastic teacher and mentor. It's actually, I mean, I kind of we both were lamenting that we don't get to see more of Goku being a mentor. I'd honestly love to see more of Gohan being a mentor too. Like, I think this is one of the only times that we see it, and like you said, he's just a natural at it. It would be really fun to see him do more of it.
And I mean, it fits into his personality, right? Where he's big into learning. I would assume that you'd also be big into teaching if you're big into learning. And he's not really a violent person, right? Like he's not the guy who's ever really wanted to be on the front lines, but he does know a lot about martial arts. He's very caring, so helping other people would be right in line with being a good mentor. I think it's a natural fit, and his demeanor is fantastic, right? Like he's a very patient person.
Very much. We haven't talked a whole lot about future Gohan teaching future Trunks, which is a little bit of a different dynamic because future Gohan is pretty harsh on future Trunks, but they're also living in a very harsh world. So that actually it's funny to just see the contrast of like the worlds that Gohan and Trunks lived in the future timeline, which is very harsh and, you know, lots of people have died, versus the timeline that has been peaceful since the destruction of Cell. And Gohan is just, you know, he's very kind and pleasant and positive. So I think a handful of our mentors, particularly Gohan and Goku, they change the way that they teach as a mentor based on the needs of the situation, which I think it's very important, but it says a lot about them as people too.
Yeah, it's they know how to teach, right? It's you're not going to be taking the same approach as Gohan in the peaceful timeline as you are in the non-peaceful timeline. You don't have time, you don't have luxuries. It's you have to learn this. Every day could be your last day, and so the longer it takes for us to get these lessons across, the more risk you're at. And once again, I like in the future Trunks timeline, he's also explaining the Super Saiyan transformation very well, right? Like he's putting it into words. He's explaining how to get there, just like he's explaining flying and controlling ki to Videl and Goten. And so, and by the way, man, I love his explanation of how to become Super Saiyan full stop in the future Trunks timeline. Like I think that is probably one of the best kind of explanations we get, where you get that combination of emotion and reaching like deep into yourself to hit that next level. I love the build up behind that explanation. I love Trunks almost getting there, and then finally the story being complete when Gohan does unfortunately finally kick the bucket. Like everything about Gohan in future timeline is just poetic. Sorry, I went off on a weird tangent, but yes, I like him as a teacher.
No, I completely agree with all of that. It's very fun to hear that explanation, and I unfortunately have to contrast it to the explanation of the tingly back to transforming
No.
in Super Saiyan and Super. It's so much better in future Trunks timeline with future Gohan explaining it about like feeling the rage and harnessing it. It's man, it's so good. They do a great job. Um, I think the other thing that I want to bring up that I think well, Gohan in the future timeline is very harsh, which is also a good parallel and a perfect segue to our next mentor, because Piccolo was very harsh with Gohan as a kid. And I think we see that parallel to Gohan's teaching with him in the future timeline, where he's very harsh with future Trunks. Um, And I don't have a whole lot more to say about that with a parallel with Gohan, but I think that kind of transitions us over to our next mentor in Piccolo.
Yeah, and man, there's so much to say about Piccolo. He's actually probably arguably the biggest mentor in like Dragon Ball as an entire story. Because as we were going through, we kept finding more and more moments where Piccolo was stepping in to train the kids and get involved and kind of like keep all these young characters moving forward in their progression as fighters. Like we saw it, we accidentally came across it with him teaching Goten and Trunks to get through the loss of their mothers, and then he trains them in the hyperbolic time chamber. But we're not even talking about that, and that's already good stuff. We're talking specifically about his training with Gohan. This is way back in the Saiyan arc where he basically grabs Gohan as soon as the battle with Raditz ends. He grabs Gohan, who's unconscious, and flies him off to some remote location to start prepping him for the upcoming battle with the new Saiyans. And he lands in like this little pond and just throws Gohan nonchalantly into the water. Like he's just brutal to Gohan right off the bat. He explains to him what happened during the fight, that his dad's dead, and that there's no time. We have to start training right now. It is intense. And like you were saying, this is a harsh contrast to the way Gohan trained Goten and Videl.
He's also Gohan is 4 years old at this point, which is hilarious and wild to think about. But Piccolo watched the power that Gohan had when he broke Raditz's armor and everything. Again, this is in some ways this is kind of like Vegeta and the way that he treated Gohan and Krillin on Namek is that Piccolo knows that there are more powerful Saiyans coming to the Earth in 1 year's time, so he's using Gohan as a tool. He's basically initially thinking like we have to use everything that we have to fight these more powerful Saiyans. So I'm going to train this kid to be a killer. Um, but that's kind of the funny part about Piccolo here is that he doesn't treat Gohan as a kid. He basically treats him as an adult. He's like, you're gonna live out here in the wilderness and you're gonna figure this shit out. But he also almost immediately, when he realizes that Gohan isn't cut out initially for living in the wilderness, Piccolo delivers or drops off apples for Gohan to eat on his little plateau that he leaves Gohan on. Um, Even though Piccolo said he was going to make Gohan survive on his own, there's just this smidgen of compassion that starts to show in Piccolo, who was otherwise completely evil, born of the Demon King Piccolo's body. So, and he wants to murder Goku. But we're seeing that change slowly over time.
Yeah, that there's this monster has some sort of heart, right? Like he can't even sit idly by as a young child shivers and growls in hunger at the top of a well, I guess a pillar he put him on or a tall mountain he put him on. And it's the first kind of hint that maybe there's more to Piccolo than what we know. And I like this because that's really all the hint we really get at this point. It's kind of a contrast to a lot of the other stuff we get. Because Piccolo's training is brutal, right? Like we see him just zapping Gohan with like electricity beams out of his eyes and punching and kicking him, and just like Gohan will do something like good and kind of like catch Piccolo off guard, and then he'll just respond with like a key blast to the face. Like there's no like thanking him or congratulating him. It's just every time you level up, I'm gonna level up, and we're just gonna keep going. And like this little nice moment is such a contrast to everything else we see. But I also want to say these training moments, those are also big to me too, because there's always every time Gohan goes to give up through here, Piccolo cuts through it and finds a way to keep Gohan motivated, like telling him you can't give up, you've got to push yourself. These guys will kill you at a moment's notice. Be thankful that I'm going easy on you. And so I mean this whole training arc is intense, and these two go through a lot together.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's, I mean, these are, we've tried to consolidate some of these into like singular beats, but it's hard not to talk about the entire arc of Piccolo training Gohan, especially because this whole arc culminates in Piccolo training Gohan for an entire year in the wilderness, having kidnapped him from his mother, and then them fighting the Saiyans, and Gohan not being able to, like, there are a few moments where he shows like courage and power, where he like kicks Nappa across the plane, but it ends in Nappa basically getting ready to blast Gohan with a ki blast and wipe him off the planet, and Piccolo leaping in front of that ki blast because Piccolo has learned to care about something other than world domination, other than himself. It's I think one of the reasons why we kind of are talking about this last is because it's one of the most powerful mentor student connections, in part because of the relationship that they develop for one another and the way that they care about each other. But it's such a almost every other mentor moment that we've talked about is a mentor imparting wisdom to a student. This is that, but it's also a growth moment for Piccolo as a person and as a character, because what in a way, Gohan is teaching Piccolo what it means to have a friend. So they are, in a lot of ways, they're teaching each other rather than just Piccolo solely being the mentor for Gohan.
And this relationship is very, very Toriyama, right? Like it's about as opposite as two characters could possibly get. You have the main antagonist from Dragon Ball who wanted to control or destroy the entire planet, and Gohan, who is 4 years old and really has no interest in fighting and just wants to read books and catch butterflies and do kid things, right? You have both of them paired up and kind of meeting each other somewhere in the middle, both teaching each other. Gohan teaching Piccolo to maybe be a little bit more compassionate, and then Piccolo obviously teaching Gohan to be a little bit more confident and come out of a shell a little bit, to be a little stronger. And so I love the pairing of these two, not just from what they're able to teach each other, but because it's so Toriyama. This is pinnacle Dragon Ball writing right here. So just the pairing of the two is perfect.
Yeah, yeah, I 100% agree. This one, man, it's really just so good. It's really well written. It's we see like a gradual progression of the change in Piccolo. We also see a gradual progression of a change in Gohan as he becomes proficient. He learns to use the sword that Piccolo gives him. He's cutting off dinosaurs' tails and cooking them and surviving in the wilderness as a 5-year-old child. And while Gohan does show that he's afraid fighting the Saiyans, as a child probably should be, he also shows a lot of courage, and later continues to grow because of Piccolo's training. And so it's just really cool to see both characters change so much, and it feels natural, it feels well written, it feels earned. Like, it doesn't feel like it's out of nowhere. It's a really great relationship and just pieced together really well.
Well, and also it's kind of a moment for me where when he makes a sacrifice, like, oh man, I didn't realize I liked Piccolo. Dang it. Like it, because they've been kind of working on it subtly in the background where because Piccolo is still, even though he's helping the good guys, he's very villainous about it, right? Like he makes it clear that we're only being allies out of convenience. Once we're done, like I'm going back to taking over the planet. And so, I mean, he kills Goku with really not much hesitation. There's a little bit, but not much. And then he kidnaps his kid and beats the crap out of him, and with the idea that he's going to use him to conquer the Saiyans who are coming to the planet. Like everything Piccolo's doing is kind of not really good guy behavior. Like it's barely good guy behavior.
Yeah. It very slowly transitions in that direction. I think coming to the sacrifice moment where he saves Gohan's life. And then, he's basically effectively a good guy past that point. Um, but it feels earned. Like it feels like a natural progression for his character because of what he's gone through with Gohan. And yeah, I like this one a lot. I really like that it feels like both characters are learning something from the other, and and I mean, to say nothing of, like you said, Dayton, we're mostly focusing on Piccolo and his relationship with Gohan, but Piccolo shows himself to be a phenomenal mentor with Goten and Trunks. Later in the Dragon Ball superhero movie, I love the moments of Piccolo training Pan as a young girl. So I think I really wanted to talk about Piccolo last because he's one of my favorite mentors. Um, yeah, maybe just full stop. He's just it's very fun to watch him training the younger generation of fighters.
This moment has to be up at the top though, because this is kind of like the big reveal, right? Like the big moment that he's much better, like he's a much better person than maybe you might initially think, that there's a lot more heart to this character than what's been revealed to us. And I like that. It makes Piccolo a much more complex character with this.
Yeah, very much so. I think that ends our, at least our primary list of our mentor moments. So we basically just have a list of honorable mentions because obviously we only covered 5 mentors in Dragon Ball, and there are quite a few more. I think we've basically got a list of at least the big ones that we could think of. So do we want to jump into those, Dayton?
Oh yeah, I mean, how do we not have a list without King Kai in it, right? Like as far as Dragon Ball Z is concerned, he is the first mentor of our spacefaring people. And the only reason why he doesn't make it into our main list is he didn't have like a particular moment that properly pulled at our heartstrings or really captured us. What he does as a whole is fantastic, and honestly, I don't know how much I would change. But it's hard to pick like a moment to really settle in on. He's just kind of good all the time, and so that's why he makes it into the honorable mentions. It's not because he did anything wrong. Like he's a great character. It's just there's nothing that leaped out at me as definitely this moment is the one that really stands out.
Yeah, and Dayton and I, like, we were gonna put him on the list, but we were struggling to just find one key moment. And I mean, his training is, it's fun to watch his training with like Bubbles and Gregory and stuff, and we get to see Goku. We kind of get to see Goku learn the Spirit Bomb, um, and we get to see like the gravity training. I think for the first time is on King Kai's planet. Um, all of it's really well done. I like, his approach to training and his, comedy, and he has to have his students tell a joke before he'll even train them. And then there's even little brief moments where he's showing fear for Goku when Goku's going to fight Frieza. And we were struggling to find the moment, but we were looking for, I'm pretty sure there's a moment where King Kai is like lamenting what he believes is Goku's death at Frieza's hands at least once, if not multiple times. But none of them were felt as impactful or emotionally resonant as the other ones that we put on the primary list, which is why he's in honorable mentions.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moments where he's actually like adding context to certain situations, but there's not a lot of master student moments for us to really hone in on.
Yeah. We also have Roshi down here just because we could have talked about a dozen Roshi moments and just kind of continued on with them. I've kind of talked a lot in the past about the Ultra Instinct versus Jiren moment, which I think is more held in the manga, which to me is more just a cool moment and getting to see Master Roshi give Goku another push and continue to teach him, even though Goku's well far and beyond Roshi's power level and everything. But then the other one that I think is probably the obvious one that we touched on a little bit is Roshi entering the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai or World Martial Arts Tournament to stop Goku and Krillin from winning the tournament.
And this is, I mean, it's such a cool story arc, right? Like, I love everything about this. I love his motivations for it. I love that he almost doesn't pull it off against Goku. Like, it's actually a little bit of a struggle, especially with, him having to blow up the whole moon thing. But the only reason why we chose the TN one over this is it's hard. We couldn't find an exact specific moment that felt more impactful than the specific moment of him stepping out of the ring against Tien. And so we were really honestly splitting hairs on this one. It's kind of a 1A, 1B sort of situation because Jackie Chun is such an amazing character and his story arc is, I mean, it's perfect. And honestly, the more we cover Dragon Ball content, the more I realize how good the original Dragon Ball series was.
It really is fantastic. The writing for the original Dragon Ball is so good. But yeah, it's more of like a broad, like the whole arc feels like the whole arc is meant to be a mentor preventing his students from thinking that they're at the top of the mountain. I think they're only like 12 or 13 maybe when they're fighting in this tournament. And so he doesn't want them to get disinterested and think that they've kind of peaked out. But yeah, there's just not a specific moment, unfortunately. I mean, it's phenomenal. Like the whole arc is fantastic. So to say not to say that there's anything wrong with the arc, we both really like it.
I mean, to continue down the list, we got Whis and Beerus. There are some moments between them. Like we see plenty of good training with Whis and our two Saiyan main characters, Goku and Vegeta. But there's not a big moment that I can really put my finger on. There's no big connection between the master and the student that's really established here. It just feels like Whis is a teacher, right? Like the relationship feels kind of alien to me.
Which is funny because like it should, right? Like
Yeah.
Whis is
You have like a
an
divine
angel.
being and two aliens.
Yeah. And they're training on some alien planet or some god's planet, I guess. But yeah, I agree with that. I like Whis. I like the way that Whis expresses the different ways for Goku and Vegeta to improve as fighters, because it's usually like Goku, you need to care more, Vegeta, you need to care less. And giving them these ideas of like, in some ways, you need to let go. You need to just think less and just do. And that's all of that is leading them in the path of using Ultra Instinct, which I like that a lot. But there's no emotional resonance with Whis and our Saiyan protagonists. It's just he's just teaching them how to use Ultra Instinct, and that's it.
Yeah, and I mean, I like Whis as a character. It's not really a problem I have with the character itself. It's just our list is very specific. It's got to be master student moments, and there's just not a big one. Whis is a great master, but like I said, the relationship is alien. Whis is an angel that makes things a little weird, and as a human, the human elements are the ones that I'm really looking for.
Yeah, yeah, I very much agree. Beerus, honestly, we don't get a ton with him in the anime as a mentor. We get a little bit, but I will just note that he does get a little bit of a moment with Vegeta in the manga. I still, even with that, I still don't think that I would put Beerus like high on the list. So yeah, they're both just honorable mentions, which I think kind of takes us down to, I think the next three kind of are almost like lumped together in
They're
a
very
category.
related, right? Like it's kind of one, then two, then three.
Pretty much, yeah. Which maybe the first one that we would probably talk about is Korin, because literally going up the Korin's tower. But Korin is a mentor for Goku when Goku climbs Korin's tower, just in the sense that Korin creates these obstacles that Goku has to overcome in order to even, well, one, get stronger, but then to progress his way up the tower and stuff. Basically, Korin just keeping the water away from Goku that ends up being not water that gives you strength, and then later ends up being actual water that gives you
Oh
strength.
yeah,
But
that's right. I forgot about that. I like the initial lesson. It did get weird later.
yeah, same. Um, but there's not a lot. Again, there's not a lot of emotional resonance or connection here. Korin sees that Goku is a good person, and that's one of the reasons why Korin is willing to train Goku. But that's pretty much the extent of it.
And I mean, I'm just gonna continue up from there. from there, he goes to, the top of the tower. He gets up to the lookout, and his training begins with Popo first. And there's like some breathing training and stuff like that. And Popo's training Goku to kind of like clear his mind and um, work on his breathing and kind of calm him down as a fighter. But the connection between Popo and Goku is also it's almost like professional. It's not like, I don't think those two actually really care about each other. It is just a master training a student. There's not really a big moment here. It's fun. Like Goku becoming the Rock and falling asleep is pretty hilarious, but there's not like a big moment that really stood out to me. And honestly, Kami's kind of the same way. If anything, Kami feels like almost like detached from everything else. Like he's thinking about something else while training Goku, which he has other stuff to think about, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I don't even think we get a ton with Kami like on
No.
screen training Goku. We basically just kind of we do see the results of his training when he looks more like an adult. I think he's 15 or 17 or something when he comes back after the time skip. And we see that Goku is significantly more powerful, more competent. So it's clear the training worked, but we don't get to see a lot of it. And there's pretty much zero emotional connection between Kami and Goku.
And you don't necessarily need to have that between every master and student, right? Like I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing. If anything, it's kind of cool that there's this like mysticism to the world and these like alien cool creatures that exist out there, and they might I view these characters as like world building characters, and I'm fine with that. I think they're great characters. I don't know if I would change anything. I've not really thought about it, but I don't really have a problem with them. So yeah, they're great masters, but unfortunately, this is a list of moments, and there's just not big ones with either of these three.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's better to have diversity amongst the mentors, right? I'd rather have some mentors who feel just a little bit disconnected, some who are maybe more harsh than others, some who are more caring than others. It feels like the world is more real in that way because the world is just filled with different types of people. So people are going to approach teaching and learning just different from one another.
And also, like, if every master like super cares about their student, then it starts becoming like dull. It starts
Right.
becoming expected, right? Like, if you're gonna form a meaningful relationship, you kind of have to make it unique and actually feel meaningful. It can't just be with everybody, otherwise, nothing special.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. But yeah, I think that covers all of our honorable mentions. I'm sure there are some.
I'm sure we missed a bunch. Like, there's so much of that in Dragon. Like, that's kind of a core component of Dragon Ball, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know there are a couple in the manga that are not present in the anime. We didn't really touch on any of those. I'm sure there are some in the anime that we probably overlooked or missed. But yeah, if you're either watching this on YouTube or wherever else, I mean, post comments, let us know your favorite mentor, let us know mentors that we did miss. But we covered the ones that we thought were the most important and the ones that we liked the most, I guess.
Yeah. I Man, this was a fun episode. It's fun. It's always fun going over all of our favorite things in Dragon Ball. I always enjoy these ones the most.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. These are just, I mean, it's fun to just gush about the things that we like. So, but
Bold statement, but yes, I agree.
I think that's going to be it. Did you have anything else for this episode, Dayton?
No, get us the hell out of here.
All right, that'll be it for this episode of Instant Transmission, where we discuss everything Dragon Ball. This has been your host, Todd.
And Dayton.
Don't forget, we're on Patreon and Discord. If you want to teach us how to control our ki, you can find us at patreon.com/itdbpodcast. The Discord link will be in the episode description, but you can also find it and all of our other links at linktree/itdbpodcast. Thank you all so much for your support. Be sure to join us next time as Dayton and I do the fusion dance in movie 12, Fusion Reborn.
Woo, good stuff.
The machine that processes all the evil souls in the afterlife has malfunctioned, and from the ashes arises a jolly and terrifying monster in Janemba. What kind of unique powers will this monster demonstrate? Will Goku be enough to take on Janemba all by himself? Why am I asking that when the title of the movie clearly includes fusion? Find out next time. And to all our fellow Dragon Ball fans, stay safe out there and remember to keep rocking the dragon.
Now, you're going to promise me that there's no Broly in this one, right?
I make no such promises. I'm pretty sure
son of a
Broly
bitch.
comes back in every movie.